You're like, all right.
Yeah.
Like 8 hours later, you're just pulling in, like, for heaven's sake.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of March 19th. We call the roll, please.
Rory.
Here.
Beckman.
Here.
Starring.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
Phelps.
Here.
Meridian.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
We have approval of, are there any agenda additions or deletions? Hearing none, the agenda stands. Could we have approval of the minutes of the February 19th meeting, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 19th, as presented.
I'll support. Got a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19th meeting by Phelps, support by Starring. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. We have public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there any comments from the audience? Moving on, request for payments, the accounts payable. I have a motion to approve the accounts payable, please.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable 105-815-39.
I'll support.
A motion by Phelps and support by Beckman to approve 105-815.39. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question on the roof repair. Do we have a leak?
Yes, one of the stacks for the heaters, Aaron, one of the stacks for the heaters, the snow was so abundant that it shoved and dislodged the roof flashing,
Oh, okay.
so we had to have that repaired.
That was a cheap one.
They usually aren't that cheap.
I had
No.
I had a question on that truck payment of 42. Do we always pay off our trucks right away and not do them on time or over months?
That's a time payment, that's an installment payment.
42
Was a-
is an installment.
Yeah, it was a-
Because
I
I haven't
think-
seen it before.
Right, yeah, sometime last year.
The second one, so that's,
So once
it's
a
an
year
annual
only?
payment, yeah, once a year, first of March.
Thank you.
We have 3 more, correct?
122,000, so yeah, we have about 3 more.
3 more. That's for truck 2112, that used one we bought from Georgia.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed?
That
Pay the bill.
should be a roll call, Dean, sorry.
Oh,
Just point of
all
order.
right.
You want to call the roll? Rory. Yes. Beckman.
Yes.
Starring.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
Phelps.
Yes.
Meridian.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Financial report. Okay, Pete?
Well, the taxes are due or past due now, so we've collected 95% of the revenue we projected for the fiscal year. Still, as you can see in the far right column, there's still some delinquent taxes that will be paid by the Allegan County Treasurer probably sometime in mid-June for those amounts. Then the expenses overall, we've spent 68% of what was budgeted. I don't know if anybody has any particular line item question that's throughout here, but so we should be right around 75%. So, but some of these, are getting pretty tight. The fire calls and the operational wages, everything's getting tight right now. So, at some point, we'll have to have another budget adjustment and move some numbers around.
Okay, looks like we're in good shape, so.
We started the budget next month?
I'll take that budget.
Yeah,
It's all done.
it's not done, but we'll start on it after Easter. We'll probably have something to bring to you guys for the board meeting. I'm not going to say that, we're at month of April, but we'll have something for the next meeting.
Right. Okay, moving on. Fire chief comment.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We have incident reports for the month of February. Ended up with 58 calls, certainly up from 2017. 119 calls as of the end of February. And we're up about 21%. I think I sent the board when I saw what was happening, the trend. And please keep in mind, I'm short like 2 firefighters, so it's been a bit challenging with the call volume. So the numbers are there, up about 21%. Your breakdown of type of call, which is an NFIRS reporting system. Again, you'll see Series 300 being the predominant leader in types of calls. 59% medical calls. Motor vehicle incidents, you can see to date, we're at 16 calls. We just had another one today.
Yep, that's in here.
So that, that's gonna always trend upwards based on the weather mainly. Bar graph that shows the activity, brown being 2018. Special events, kind of slow at this time of the year. We did a couple, there was one last Saturday, a request for St. Patty's Day. We also did the Winterfest event, which we'll cover later on. Activity by area. I don't know why, I can't explain why Douglas is really stand out on the calls. But certainly a lot of emphasis in the Douglas area.
That's a lot for,
Yeah, it just seems to be really out of proportion for 1,200 residents, so, it's just one of those things. We'll keep tracking it. You can see I-196, the activity on there, about 5% of our calls.
In Douglas, was there any particular kind of call that was up?
It's mainly medical. Certainly, I think you get a more calls because of the healthcare facility, and I think you tend to have some areas that have, geriatrics and things that might prompt that, but I have not seen numbers that high. I think it's mainly attributed to our aging population. Yeah, Chris?
I think there's one or not 2 frequent flyers that have had a handful of calls that probably make up that.
Yeah.
At least I know one address is in Douglas for sure.
Yeah.
That probably has
That's
made up
correct.
at least 5 or 6
Somebody who
calls.
just has something that's occurring right now that's demanding EMS-wise. And we go through period, you're absolutely right.
But that's legitimate, that's not.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Just
not anything you can do about it.
No, not anything. It's just a need at the time. Sometimes you go through 6 or 7 weeks of that until they get better.
Or if it gets persistent, and then we bring in outside people to look at those calls, and maybe they need help and they need to move somewhere else or move into assisted living or something.
Some of them are alone, and they're not capable of taking care of themselves, so we see that, and then we can notify somebody to try to intervene, but it's always a real balance on intruding, because people are so independent.
And you got HEPA issues and things like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a sensitive area. So Grace of Douglas, nothing out of character there, really. Okay. Overlapping calls, pretty strong at 5 for March so far. And it's the 19th. So, and then just overlapping calls by area. Personnel response, pretty self-explanatory. Different categories, whether you're career or volunteer. Protected property values, we had a couple of good saves in there. We had a gas leak in Douglas, that was a good find. Chris Bernhardy and Johnny Miles found that gas leak. A lot of gas leaks. So it just reflects those values.
You think that's because of hard winter, or?
No. I think you're gonna see a number of things. I think you're gonna see a lot more electrical fires, because electrical now is even in gas water heaters. The fire we had last night in Fenville was a gas-fired water heater with power. to it. And that started a fire. So I think you're gonna see that. Response time's up a little over 6 minutes. Year-to-date, 6:05. February, 6:13.
Blaming it on weather?
Yeah, earlier winter.
That's it, snow.
Yes, that's good, thank you. May I go on?
Sure.
Just want to let you know, community risk reduction wise, Douglas had a fantastic event that was created by the students at elementary school, and we participated. We had fires in downtown Douglas, which was pretty unusual, and our officers paid for s'mores out of their pockets for the students, and Demons donated lots of stuff for the event. So we had 5 small fires, and it was well staffed. We actually had 2 calls during that time that it happened. So it was a great event. I hope they continue to do it. We did it right down in Berry Field, and tremendous event. Next up, Douglas Elementary School. We're working on pre-K through 5th grade. One thing we did is Chris reached out to the police department, and the police were handling the March lesson plans, and they introduced bicycle safety and pedestrian safety, and just phenomenal. They did a great job. Officer Tino and Officer Mark Giles on prevention and life safety for the kids. So we're glad to be part of that. Usually we take the lead on it, and they took the lead in March. Next up on the agenda, it's a number I don't like to see, but there's been 32 fatal fires in the state of Michigan just in 2018. 10 since the last meeting. I mean, that is just so significant. That's why it's on your agenda. Moving on, the live fire training facility, some really good news. We have 2 new partners. One of them is 100% on board. That's Clyde Fire. The second one is Holland Public Safety. Holland wants to join. They take it before their board July 1st. So what does that mean? It means, number 1, great training on this west side. Number 2, it reduces the impact to our taxpayers that we serve. So instead of 5 members, we're looking at 7 members. I worked with the attorney to revise the interlocal agreement. That went to the attorney. I reviewed it Friday and Saturday. I sent it out to all the partners Sunday, and now they're going to take it to their councils, and hopefully we get it approved.
Good.
So, we're waiting for Kim Buster to give us a timeline, because most of the fire departments don't get their funding until July 1st. So of course, we want Kim to start now without paying him. I can't imagine why he hasn't gotten back to me yet. So we're really happy that Clyde came up with $5,000 in about 10 days, and another $10,000 committed by June. And Holland Fire has a lot of bureaucracy, so it's in their budget. We hope they approve it. The Captain Betts family update. A couple of the officers and I met with Mike Betts on Friday. As you know, Avery has an inoperable brain tumor. I have Mike's blessing to share this with the board and the fire department. They were turned down by 3 communities for a plan for testing. New York, Chicago, and I think Boston. They were accepted down in Georgia, so they flew down to Georgia. Mike drove down there Saturday night, I believe, and is joining with his wife and children down there. What they found was Avery couldn't speak. She was having trouble eating, and her gait was off. She couldn't walk. The doctor down in Georgia determined the medication that she was on had an adverse effect on that, cut it back to 50%. So she's going to be in clinical studies for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that's where we're at.
They're staying at around McDonald's house.
Who is she? His wife, his mother, what? I don't know.
I'm sorry?
His daughter.
His
I'm
da-
sorry.
His 6-year-old
I
daughter.
didn't know that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Avery is Mike Betts, our one of
I
our
know
full...
Mike, yeah.
Yeah,
His,
5-year-old daughter.
oh, I had no idea. Okay.
She has an inoperable brain tumor.
That's all.
And there is an address on, I just saw it today on the care pages, so if you want to send a happy card to her,
Okay.
there's addresses if you want to
Good.
get the
She
address.
actually asked for that.
Yeah, she loves getting
Good.
them.
Okay.
Everyone is kind of numb about this whole thing because you don't know what to say and how.
Right.
I think the officers that were here Friday, there were 4 of us, we just sat on the table and listened to them. You know, and I don't know how Mike gets through it from one minute to the next.
But Mike's always here for everybody else, and anything we can do,
Mhm.
we'll do, but I don't know what you can do at this point. You might wanna mention the fire department down there is...
Yes. So one of the residents in Saugatuck City, Kelly Ford, reached out to the chief in Augusta, Florida, where the clinical studies are going on. Georgia, I'm sorry. And the chief immediately said, yep, we can handle that. It's about 4 blocks from our station, one of our stations. So he called me and got approval. And then their battalion chief called me, and they've been visiting every other day down there. So pretty neat thing. Sent one of the wives over to let Melissa know where the church is and to find out here's the Walmart, here's the grocery store, and very attentive, most impressive.
Janice, that address for the cards, was that in your email you sent out?
No, I went on Facebook today to make a donation to the GoFundMe account.
So where do you find it? Is it on
Yeah.
Facebook?
It's on Facebook, but it's called, I think it's Caregiver. When I go home, I'll
Just send it
find
out.
it, and I'll just send a general email out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
just set that
send it
up
all
last
out.
night,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't use
And
Facebook.
they put updates on how Avery's doing.
It's CareBridge, I think is the name.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. But that just came on last night.
Do we know how long she has to be down there? Is it indefinite?
They said that this particular clinical study was 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, that's a long time. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, are we able to keep him on the payroll?
Well, we have so far, because he's only had 1 5-day vacation in 5 years now. I know we can't roll vacations over.
Yes. Why?
Well, something that's been kind of, because some of us didn't take vacations, and that was not good to do, but I've worked with Mike 5 years, and he's had 5 days off, and that's when there was a move involved. One of the things, is, I guess since it's brought up, I've got a lot of sick time. I want to see if the board would allow me to consider donating sick time. I don't know how long he's going to be long, and I know the board can't expect to go on forever, but I've had 1 half-day sick day in 5 years, so I have a considerable amount of sick time I'd like to see if the board would allow.
It is customary in many industries to allow PTO or that type of paid time off to be donated for those type of situations. So it wouldn't be out of line.
So it might be something that would be considered.
Mhm.
I would say so.
Definitely.
Otherwise, does it go to FMLA, or what is
Yeah.
it?
Mike's always here. He's every event, you have to throw him out of the station. We yell at him.
I think whenever you can find a way to continue keeping him on the payroll
Mhm.
for all the service he's provided, that's the least we can do.
I'll figure out how many hours I have and let the board decide what you want to do.
Well, how long has he been a full-time firefighter?
Well, he was here when I started in 13.
Since 12.
And how many vacation days are they allowed, or vacation hours are they allowed a
He
year?
would have, now he would be in the 2-week category.
2
But
weeks?
he was, would have 1 week for the first 2 years.
Is there any type of administrative work that can be done remotely?
I don't know, Chris, I could look at that as far as training, I don't know. Let me look into that.
And then how many personal days do you get for like sick time or personal leave, whatever?
There's 5 sick days that they're allowed.
And has he taken those every year, or are those accumulated?
No,
No.
God, no.
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 I guess my personal opinion is, just had to ask. And if it takes a vote to do it, I think we need to, all the time he's accumulated, grant him the time now.
He could have mine too.
I think it's a good suggestion if there's anything you can find for him to do remotely.
I like that too,
Mhm.
because then it,
You know, if there's some research paperwork, approval work,
Because
there's
he's
a
probably
number of things. that
It's a
could-
great idea.
and he probably needs to, I hate to say it, but there's probably a lot of idle time.
Yeah.
And
Need
he's
something to do.
probably
You
not
guys
planning
don't know
to do it.
Mike, he's not
Yeah.
gonna function well being away from the
No,
fire
he's
service. These
not.
guys all know that.
No, he sounds like he'd be a very good,
Yeah.
outlet for any type of remote administrative work that had to be
Yeah.
executed.
Researching grants or whatever
Yeah.
it takes.
He's probably already got a pager on Augusta's department, I would guess.
That's what we told him,
And a set of gear.
that's what we told him Friday is,
He was taking his turnout gear to Georgia, wasn't he?
Yeah.
How does FMLA work, in this, he's a full-time employee, so he would be covered, right?
All government employees are covered, but if you read the law, it's not payable.
It's
Gotcha.
unpaid. You get
It's
the time.
unpaid. It's time off, what it basically says, we will hold your position for X days.
You won't lose, yeah.
You won't lose your position here, but it's not, it's unpaid.
And that was my concern, how is he gonna function with Melissa not working and him not having an income, what are they gonna
Right.
do?
And so in my company, we would allow, anyone who had PTO accumulated, paid time off, which is a bucket of hours to use for anything, you could donate it to other employees, so that is another option.
Okay. I'll look into those 2 things.
I like the administrative
Yeah.
thing.
Gotta get done.
Because, you know, I know these guys will probably donate their time, but we also need these guys to take their time.
Absolutely.
You know, I know they're looking out for someone else, but
Right.
to keep their own sanity.
Yeah.
So if we can find something for him to do while he's down there and have these guys keep their own time, I would feel better about that.
I got an idea already, the whole RIT deal, we can shift that back to him.
Well, and he works through his problems by working, so that's probably, I mean, he would probably welcome something to do.
I'm sure he's got a lot of idle time.
Oh, there's nothing
Man.
worse than hospital sitting.
Right.
Okay, well,
I'll work on that.
there's an update on the Betts family. Moving on, grant updates.
So, Chris actually was on maternity leave and submitted a fire safety obstacle course. I think I reviewed the grant on a Saturday and Sunday, and Chris did a great job. I just added some wordsmithing to it and some things like that. And that has been submitted. You can see the deadlines. Also, Chris worked on a West Michigan Fire Chiefs grant for these, for 16 departments,
14, yeah.
14 agencies for the fire stovetops. So that's been submitted too on a regional basis. Just want to keep you up to date on that. We went through that in the last board meeting as far as approval of that 5%. Unfinished business?
Yeah, moving on, unfinished business, Fire Code Board of Appeals.
So I'm happy to report, Saugus City and Township approved this. Township did it first. Saugus City approved it. Next, I have to take it to Douglas. I'll be doing that.
And then the Fire Board Administrative Rules and Bylaw Amendment.
Yeah, at the last meeting for the township, I let them know it was forthcoming. If I get a clean copy of the red line changes, I'll send that to them for approval at the
Sure.
next meeting, but not with all the whole packet. But just a clean,
I thought I sent those out after the last board meeting, maybe?
I don't, well, if you
I'll
send
do
my
it again.
township email, it's not
Yeah.
working, so,
Okay.
thefrontier.com would be better. And I'll make sure they have that, because it should be, I told them it shouldn't expect any problems.
Okay, I'll do it again.
We can do that.
And for Douglas, we're on the agenda for tonight.
I'm sorry?
Douglas is on the agenda for tonight.
Is it on there for tonight?
Yes.
Oh, good. Good. Maybe I should go.
We submitted it last month, right after the meeting.
Okay.
And said, can you put it on next month? But
Okay.
they'll all approve it, you don't need to
Yeah,
go.
I think it'll be a 5 minute.
Simple
That's not gonna be a
changes.
problem.
It's not a big deal.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, moving on, new business, Township IFC amendments impact on district operations, draft letter review.
So letter, that you should have is regarding North Shores and trying to provide some clarity because there's a lot of confusion. I met with the attorney on the whole North Shores situation, and, there's clearly some misunderstanding, so to try to get an idea of what exactly we're dealing with, we listed some, areas on here, 3 areas for, Steve to respond to, and this shouldn't be just from me, it should be from the entire fire board, so that's what you have before you.
Discussion?
Yeah, before I send this, I want to review it.
Yeah,
I haven't given much thought to this, so.
Well, we were hoping you would review it and pass it.
I had to send it to him today.
Yeah, and you know, I personally think that maybe this should come from the lawyer and Greg, if it says, who wrote it? Who wrote this letter? I didn't write it.
Both of us.
Okay, so that's who wrote the letter. That's who should be sending it.
And you're looking for clarification of our responsibility out there,
Correct.
is your,
Right.
I don't know why the board has to be involved with that.
Yeah,
mean,
I just think you ought to see, we'd like some clarification.
Well, I guess I have to disagree. I think the board should also put their names on this because I think it needs to show that the board is also interested and would like a reply to it. And that it comes from all of us. That's mine. But I have a couple questions and I don't know if this is the
Yeah, go right
appropriate
ahead.
time to ask them. And you have to bear with me because I know they're probably not very brilliant questions, but can you explain to me what a standpipe is and how do they work?
Well, that's a very good question.
Oh, I got more after that, so.
That's one reason that we can tell that there was no fire service involved, and I don't think that was a township thing, this was a lawyer. There's no such thing as a standpipe for dry hydrants. Standpipes are in high-rises, they're in the stairways.
Okay,
So we assume they mean a dry hydrant, which is a pipe in the lake for water supply that we have to suck the water out and pump it to the fire.
okay, which will go on to this. Who is responsible? I mean, is this something that the fire department agreed to, or is this something that, in their language, they determined that was going to be the means for fighting fires out there?
This was the agreement that was struck between the attorneys of the township and McClendon.
Oh, that's the consent judgment.
Correct.
Because which goes to the next statement, who's going to maintain these pipes?
I have no idea.
Do we have pipes like this anyplace else in
Yes,
town?
we have 3.
Do they,
We
what is their
maintain them.
history?
Well, we don't maintain them, we test them annually. We backflush them, and then we flow test them annually.
Okay,
But the way the fire code is administratively, it prevents us from doing that.
okay, and well, probably not the last question, we say last question. What are they gonna do about zebra mussels?
No idea.
Because, I'm here to tell you, you know it, isn't gonna be long, it's gonna be full of zebra mussels. You can't pour,
Get more bleach in.
you can't,
The fire department didn't agree, we had nothing to do with the
Okay.
consent
This is
judgment.
just-
Yeah, no, it's all good questions, just for the record, we had nothing to do with it, I think it was more a matter of what the attorneys could work out. But, the standpipes that we have are in ponds, dry hydrants, they're technically known as. We don't have any dry hydrants in Lake Michigan,
This one number condo still work?
no. It's been severed.
So where are the dry hydrants in the district?
So there's a dry hydrants, Wilderness Ridge, Wynwood Lane, which is off of Lake Shore Drive, just south of 130th. There's one there. There's one off of Fox Ridge Court, which is just adjacent to Jack Wilson Drive where Cal Lake is. Because what we did is we required dry hydrants on 3 or more units. For those of you that may not know about a dry hydrant, it's just a static water supply. We have to take an engine and draft the water out of the body of water. So you tie up an engine right there. We can pump about 750 feet. And some of the homes that we're dealing with in North Shores are 1,100 feet away, some are 1,400 to 1,600 feet away. So that's an engine every 750 feet.
Away from the lake, is what you're saying, or away from
Right.
the?
We don't know where,
For
for example, there's a plan up here, I don't have a new site plan. This is what I was given last year.
Have you asked for a new site plan?
Yes. I did ask. So this is the basin. This is the basin that's going in. The road that I worked on with McLennan is this road right here. And I approved it here. This is new. There's 4 houses here. And what was approved were some of the lots right here.
That was approved by?
Steve Cushion. But what we saw online on the website, on the township website, was there's this water basin here, the marina, with 2 dry standpipes right here. We have to move the water over to here. We also have to move the water to here. It won't work. So what I had suggested to Mr. Bosgroff, Scott Bosgroff, is they put in a pump. They put in a UL listed fire pump here with a maintenance program to put that in. I did that in a review. Copies of the review is in the file. I think I did that last April or May. It's on there. So we don't know where they're going to have it. I said, well, how about a dry standpipe here, one here, one here, and one here. So I don't know what they're going to do. But this just gives you an idea conceptually where the lots are and the dynamics of how to get the water from here over to here. And these are not houses. For example, ISO considers any house over 4,800 square feet commercial, which means the gallon per minute flow is 2,250 to 2,500 gallons per minute. On the best day, I can draft 1,100 gallons per minute out of one dry hydrant. So they were going to put a couple in. The plan we did see online that was removed had 2 on there. So again, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have.
And this is, we were saying in this letter that in our opinion, the district is responsible for water supply and fire flows, which is expected.
The way we interpret it, they're still required to do that. The problem you have is part of this was a POD and part of it wasn't. That's why the code doesn't recognize site condo, POD, meets and bounds. It's completely irrelevant to emergency services. That's why for 13 months I objected to Planning Commission review and Michigan Land Act for those very reasons. I get a little idea of what we have project-wise, 41 home sites. This is Lake Michigan right here. Like I went online over the weekend and looked at, and the lots here are 1.5 million to 2.9 million 50,000.
Just a lot.
Just a lot.
So the houses will undoubtedly be considered commercial buildings because they're so large.
ISO told me they'll be considered commercial buildings, and that 1,000 gallon per minute fire flow was for a house up to 3,600 square feet. I don't think there'll be many houses here, 3,600 square feet, but again, we don't know.
One thing I did read through this a couple of times in trying to digest the point. So I got the point around, in our understanding of the district, the fire district is responsible for fire supply, or water supply and fire flows. But according to the code, what the district is not responsible for is administrative, operational, and maintenance.
Correct. And where does that come in, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Aaron, what that would mean is, for example, let's use what they call the dry standpipes. You know, the way the code is, if you take it technically, we're not to go there and do that. Keep in mind, that's one road in. There is no secondary access, as agreed to by the consent judgment. So there's a lot of elements here. Large square foot homes, lightweight construction, high heat loads, one way in, one way out, and no pressurized water supply. That's why it was so important to look at this the right way. Because you could have a downed tree, and that was the whole worry when we worked on it with McClendon. I think I worked on that road with McClendon for 2 years in my previous life here. And there was always to be hydrants that were not required, and everything was to be sprinkled, which was not required. That's how the reviews were done. But legally, they don't have to do that.
What is left besides administrative, operational, and maintenance, water supply and fire flows? Like, what else is in the...
That's pretty much that's the crux of it.
Access. Access would be the only other one that's not of those.
Access. The way standards are, and again, the consent judgment didn't require this. The way it normally would work is any development with 31 or more homes would have a secondary emergency road.
And is the access, that's the second paragraph around section 102.5.1.d, removes from the district oversight all driveways and private roads. Is that what you mean by access?
I think what that means, not access, that means the driveway specifications to the house. So it's not only the access road, and that access road to the basin has already been reviewed. This been reviewed to here. This has not, and none of this has, because this isn't even built. Now, I do know that this section right here, there was a 10% grade limitation. We allowed 11.5% because all this was to be sprinkled. So that is another thing we're going to try to work through.
My other questions were, if we send this out, basically, there seems like there's a couple potential outcomes. Number one is they reply back, council replies back and says, yes, all this, we agree with all this. And then from there, what would our next step be? Then
I'll get with the lawyer, we will reply to that once clarity is provided, because the problem we're running into is the ordinance says one thing, and then we're told another. And the lawyer and I are reviewing everything, going, how do we move forward? Because we don't even know. The IFC, the property owners weren't obligated to the International Fire Code. So do we just go keep responding to this stuff? Aren't we about prevention and life safety? So when you start changing codes, there's ramifications. That's what we're running into. There's no obligations for single-family homes owners to comply with this. And we wanted clarity on particularly the fire flow, because that's really critical. That's probably the most important thing. We're not looking to have a second road built. We're not looking to have hydrants put in there. We're not looking to put an on-site fire pump on or sprinkle them. Interesting enough, you'll hear more about this, but I'll just say this one thing. The first thing ISO said when I called them about this is they need to put a 13D system in there. You'll read my review, and that was in there. And I just about got thrown out of the building. So, I don't know, that's why I had to go to the attorney. If I take this in a literal sense, we have no operational, administrative, or maintenance. It's an untenable position for the fire department. So we want them to finally put it in writing, then we'll write an impact statement. Does that make?
Which I suppose would be the same outcome if they reply and say, no, we don't agree with everything is in here, then the response is, well, we need to put it in writing of exactly what.
Or maybe we
your
interpreted
intent is. Yeah.
we interpreted it wrong. We're reading the code, and this is the way we interpret it. And the lawyer said the same thing. We did 2 separate reviews. And that's how I've been interpreting this. Number one, you got to throw out the Michigan Land Act and throw out the Planning Commission. Ironically, I ask you this: why did the Planning Commission review the PUD, which is around the basin? And why were we excluded? I'd like to know. That's why we're asking for clarification. So, it says we're Planning Commission review, we'd be included. It was. The memo from the attorney has 13 references to Planning Commission for that PUD. But we're not going to be reviewing it. So I need to get this stuff out of the way to be able to write and figure out, well, then it means this, this, and this. Because right now, we're like, we don't know what it means. We have to keep responding.
I think my last question then is, this is all written in the context of this particular development. Looking at the amendments they've made to the fire code,
Correct.
are there other potential issues that
Yes.
aren't covered in here?
Yes, sir, there is. And that's what concerns me, is if I have this, I was told I didn't review this because it was meets and bounds, land division. How many more meets and bounds do we have? There's, all the buildings are going to be really taking place in township. And that was the concern that I had for that language being inserted into the fire code and why I protested to it. There are more developments that will follow under this.
I think this makes sense in terms of the next step. It's logical, I think it will give us in writing.
Right. Because I may have interpreted something wrong, the lawyer may have, so let's give them an opportunity to respond, and digest this, and so.
And I do support it coming from the board, because I think right now, you're sort of out on the limb, and it's individual person against individual person, and I think this is not an issue.
I kind of got that impression from the board, that it was supposed to be a board.
Yeah,
If the board wants to write the letter, please go at it. Please do. I spent a lot of time on this.
We all sat here and we listened to Steve Cushion say, you will inspect 5 or more. He said it more than once. And then 2 days later, we get a memo that says you will inspect none of that. And there's 31 houses there. 41 houses.
So I'm really confused, that's why.
I think we're all confused.
This is the next step I think the board should take. That's my recommendation.
I read it, I had no problem with it, because it's asking for
Yeah,
clarification.
I did most of this on my days off,
It's clarification.
because there is no other time.
As far as asking for clarification, I don't think that's a bad thing. If we're gonna get back in this pissing match that they're not doing the IFC in the township, I think we're spinning our wheels again. That ship sailed, they have the right to do that, they've done it, and we as a board have to deal with it.
I think, to me, this seems like an attempt to do that and clear up a lot of the ambiguity that comes from the changes they made. Seems like it leaves room for ambiguity, and this is an attempt to clarify that.
Those 3 standpipes you talked about that we, or not standpipes, dry hydrants that we have, can you inspect those anymore? Can you According to,
According to the code, no. We got a verbal that we could.
like verbal.
Well,
Well, so we've just talked a lot about this letter. It's all new information to me, and I don't
Yeah.
understand anything you're talking about. And you want me to put my name to this and sign it? I'm not going to. I'm sorry. You guys want to? Go ahead. I'm not gonna do that. I think this should come from the chief and the lawyer, copy the board. That's how we do it in the real world, not in pissing contests where everybody's trying to, you know, get the township all riled up again. Is this gonna go in on Facebook tomorrow?
I don't
Before they
think
even
we
read
would
it?
like to involve ourselves in a pissing.
Well, that's what
match.
it seems like.
I think we'd like some clarification. I think
That's all
every
we want.
member of this board asked for clarification. They asked Greg to write a letter for clarification in the last meeting.
That's what he's done.
you know, whatever you guys feel more comfortable doing, you know, what we could do, if some of you feel strongly opposed to having your names on there, well, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it.
I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not opposed either. I think it isn't,
Good for you, and sign
I mean,
it.
I do think
Get
it's
it out.
not
It should have been out last week, it sounds like. Get it out.
Everything that we've done for the last year and a half is good for nothing, and we want some clarification on it.
And I think this will do that, so go ahead. I'm not.
You're new, so you don't know.
Well, I guess, this is my problem with this. I got this on Friday, and unfortunately, I was gone all week.
And I didn't get it till today.
And he called me, and he got it today. And if this was talked about at the last meeting,
No, it was asked for at the last.
That's what-
why are we waiting until March 19 to get this?
Because
Well, it takes a little time
the
to
lawyer
get it.
said that what the lawyer advised was it should go before the board, and it's in writing. He said it should be from the board, so we waited to send it out with the board packet, which was
Why did
sent
he say
on
it should
Friday.
be from the board, so we can get sued? Why did he say it should be from the board? What is the reason for that?
Because the board wants clarification.
We want clarification. We asked for it.
Well, then I would like to understand more about this before I ask for the clarification that I'm signing up for.
Chris, all due respect, I don't think you can understand it reading one letter,
I agree.
you know, so if
So
you
why
don't
ask me to sign something I don't
Well, then
understand?
don't sign
Don't
it.
sign it.
Yeah.
Don't sign it, I respect that,
Yeah.
no problem. I'm doing what I,
Now, if you want to copy me on this and send it in from you and the lawyer, I think that's fine.
yeah, don't sign it.
That's my.
I thought that's what we concluded, but
I thought we concluded you were gonna get clarification from the township, that's what I thought. I didn't know that the board was gonna have to.
no,
Finance,
this was particularly from the response I got from Steve Cushion as far as, because I knew the board wasn't gonna be able to understand the gravity of that. I've been working on the McClendon property since probably 2008. I know the history, I know the background, and that's why when I was excluded from the review, I took it to the attorney, because there is no other recourse.
And so do you understand what was part of the consent judgment? Does our lawyer know what was agreed to by the lawyers back then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got that day I met him on a Friday, he's got that.
I guess with that being said, exactly what you just said, that you don't expect us to be experts on this, and I have a tough time signing this, and I don't understand this. I'd like to digest it too. And if you wanna call me out for getting this on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock and not being prepared today, I'm sorry. I have a family and I have
Yeah.
work to do today.
Understood, yeah.
How much time would you like? Would you like a week, 10 days, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I would like a week at least. to
Could
go
we
through.
call a workshop to discuss this and go through it then? Because I hate to see it go another month.
Well, it doesn't have to
I
go
don't
another
think so.
month.
I would like a chance to read through it.
I don't know why, I kind of agree with Chris, why not just come from our lawyer, and ask the questions and clarify it. We're not the legal people. We as a board would like, I think, I as a board member would like to know, just like you would, Greg, but I'm not an expert. All you're doing is asking for clarification. I don't think we need to, everyone sign on the dotted line, just have it send over there and have a request to get the clarification. Then, if you disagree with some things, then I think that's when the board gets really involved. But if we go back to talking about the The fire code, again, they've made their decision. They are not gonna change anything.
No, this is clarify, yeah.
Right. Just like the city made their decision on the fire department,
Right.
or the police department.
Yeah.
That's not gonna change, it's done. Now, how do you deal with it? How does
Right.
Douglas deal with your issue, and how are we dealing with this? We have to coexist.
Yeah,
How about this?
My quick read, really, the impression I got is we're trying to pin them in to some of these continuing issues about who's in charge of what. And then we say, we're gonna respond in X amount of days, or we'll
Yeah.
assume it, so it does look like,
Well, to answer your question about the police department,
Well, that's a separate.
we have sat down with Douglas and we are dealing with it.
Well, that's good. I'm not involved with that, but I am involved with this.
Well, right,
As
but
a
you brought it up,
township.
I didn't.
But as a township, I represent the township, and obviously Chris does, and to me, just quickly reading this, it's, forgive me, but I think it's a little, due to the history, a little confrontational.
yeah.
And they've already stuck their heels in the ground, and so have we, and we're not getting anywhere.
So we can keep picking fights. I mean, if you think that's healthy, keep doing it. It's just, I think you got, at some point, you gotta let the dust settle. I think you just gotta let the dust settle. Get clarification on this, I agree, that's a CYA, there could be lawsuits, there's all kinds of stuff, we don't know these new owners, but, I don't know how big our legal budget is here, does anybody know how big that is?
Not big enough for that.
Yeah.
Not as big
I
as
don't think so.
Patmos is, I'll promise
Yeah.
you that.
So, but make sure we're covered,
Right.
but let's make sure also, so if these are clarifications, couldn't we just ask for clarification?
And remember, for the record,
Yeah.
I do oppose that they changed the IFC.
Yeah.
For the record.
It's done.
It's done. I thought it was a dumb move, but that being said, I think now we gotta, send an olive branch and figure out how to work with them.
Well, I really resent calling this a pissing match, number one. This is a letter that asks for clarification.
No, I read it as something very strong that's trying to antagonize, maybe that's what it is, but my quick read of it, it seems a bit strong to me.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I don't think so.
well,
Not everything we've been.
sorry.
so we agree to
Not-
disagree,
not-
fine,
not everything
but
we've
that's
been-
why I'm not signing it right now, that's, so.
Could we do this, would the board entertain a motion, how about this? Would you consider, let's remove the board names, and I'll copy you guys, and I'll just sign the letter.
Well, that's what I just asked for.
Yeah,
That's what I just asked for, yeah, that'd be
That'd be
fine.
great with the lawyer too, signing.
Yeah, have the lawyer copy.
But when they don't agree, we're back on it as a
And
board.
as a-
Because
we're
we
here
gotta
to
be a
support
board
him,
as
right.
one.
We are here to support him.
Right.
I am.
Right.
And I'm here to support my district.
So you want the attorney's name, signature line on it?
Yeah, he put
Yeah.
it together.
Copy the board.
Was that motion?
You got it figured out? You got it typed in yet?
No, not yet.
We need a motion.
And I think it's fair to say the board asked me to send this. Like, I'm not as concerned about having a name at the end of it, as being clear that it's not just you as an individual.
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, at the last meeting, you've asked for
We
it.
can- we can-
I wasn't here, but yeah, the board asked for
Right.
clarification, but it's coming from you and the
Okay.
lawyer.
Yeah.
I make a motion for that.
That's a good
to happen.
compromise for this.
I'll second.
So, motion by Beckman, second by Rohrig, to amend the letter to be addressed, or directed by the board to send the letter and signed by Chief Janik and the fire district attorney,
Copying the board.
copying the board. Sorry, I didn't get all that right away.
I guess the other question I have, Craig, have you ever had contact with Jeff Patnos? Or has it always been Boscraft? I know if I was putting my name on something that big of a project, I'd want my ass covered.
Yeah,
Patnos has a lot to lose.
yeah.
I guarantee it's not covered.
And that's, if Jeff Patnos knows that, I
I
think he would be
believe he does.
concerned.
I do not believe he does.
I'm just telling you, I know the
I agree.
Patnos family.
I agree with
They are
you.
very conservative.
I don't think they're aware of it either.
No.
And maybe it's because he's just leaving it in Boscraft's hand. You deal with it. Here's money, you deal with it. Which is fine, I understand that. But once you put your name on something,
So what do you suggest?
I don't know maybe we talk to Jeff. Maybe Greg calls him, I don't know, but are we overstepping something going around Steve.
At some point, someone's got to ask the question, how are we conforming to codes? Now, is that the builder?
That'd be up to the builder.
I would say that would be the
The
developer,
developer?
and each builder following the codes that are in place, which are not the codes we want.
Who's the developer? Is it Boscraft, or is it,
It's Boscraft, as far as I know.
Jeff Padno?
I guess that's probably a legal thing.
I know
What's
when-
the name of the thing and
I know when we dealt,
LLCs
when
and,
we did Dune Grass in the city, which is a comparable development, Dave Barker was involved, but then Paul Yulee also became involved in the end. And he came to city council meetings and he interjected. So his name's on the development.
Maybe a letter of concern should go to Padnos, because the way you described that just now about the 2 points wouldn't get that far. It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And Jeff
And I
Padnos,
would think he'd listen.
I can promise you, Jeff Padnos doesn't understand, I mean, I can't speak for him. I mean, they recycle metal, for God's sakes. He's not into this, and that's why he put Boscraft involved. But this is quite a big deal, and it's been going on, like you said, for 10 years.
So I had a red flag go off when you said you saw something on a website. Is that issued for construction design document? Is that a,
We went on the Saginaw Township website, and they had a bunch of stuff.
was it a conceptual drawing? Was it issued for construction? What kind of drawing was it? Was it the official document?
I have no idea.
Well, so that's why I'd be a little concerned about saying that's what it is. I think we don't know. Right?
It's gone now.
Right. We don't know what it is.
It's gone off the
Yeah,
website already?
Yeah, it's removed, right? So I don't know, yeah. That's why I asked for one.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
just-
told, I was told I wouldn't be getting it because I'm not reviewing it.
I just don't know how, I mean, if we can, if we go to Boscraft as a board and ask him to,
Well, he's been coming to you, Greg, to have stuff reviewed or not?
Boscraft.
Boscraft? No.
No, what they asked me for last February, they asked me to, review a hydrant system that they were gonna do.
Right. And then he's not doing that anymore?
Correct, and that was a water system hydraulic analysis, February 16th of 2017.
From Boscraft?
I was requested by Brad to review it, and it was from township engineers and from Police and Vandenbreek engineers, 2 different engineering firms. So Chieftain Bleicher and I met with them in February to review that, and we wrote a review, and then I was asked to respond to Scott Bosgroff, and I did that April 18th of 2017, when I was asked to review it. Oh, that's right here. Because originally, there was to be some hydrants in here, and they realized that a dead-end water main, they wouldn't have flow. They would only have about 890 gallons per minute. So then they were gonna loop it back down Riverside Drive, past Roy's house down there. But then it got into, well, who's gonna pay for it once they leave North Shore's property, and the township obviously couldn't do that. So then the whole dead-end water main, they don't like dead-end water mains because of the water quality. It's not just fire flow, the water quality is poor. And the American Water Works does not like that. That's like in Dune Grass, that's why it was a looped water main. But this is a very challenging area to do, because it's so long and narrow to get back there. But originally, when it was reviewed, that's what, that was the premise of how the reviews were conducted under that, and then the consent judgment, changed that.
So it sounds like this letter will at least bring the issue of the standpipes up, so that at least it's been brought on record, so I think that's what we can do right now. Will he respond to this, Steve? I don't know. I don't know if Steve will or not.
Yeah, we can at least try,
Yeah.
yeah. Really, the intent of the letter was you know.
Clarification.
It was really clarification, because we're confused on.
I'm sure it is.
Reading the code, really, that's what it was.
I think it's exactly what we said around the changes to the code are abstract until there's a concrete situation that really brings the ambiguity to life.
And it looks like a letter that a lawyer got his hands on and made it sound like something else.
A lawyer.
That's what it looks like to me.
And I spent about 2 hours with them on a
I'm
Friday.
sure you
Tried, and we even did this at lunch, so there was 1.5 hours that we weren't billed for, and it was my day off, so
Yeah.
we tried to be very sensitive to the board on this whole thing. And you know, I gave him all the copies of the consent judgment and everything, so he could look at it and digest it. Took about 10 days to review all the documents.
You know, this last statement about respond in a certain amount of time, we'll assume you can do that, but my guess is you're not gonna get a response. I think there's a higher sensitivity that stuff that goes to the administrator and shows up elsewhere is gonna shut him down. I don't think you're gonna get much from him. So, but at least you'll have communicated it.
Okay.
Why wouldn't he respond?
Because
I don't know.
a memo is sent to him and it shows up on a Facebook page the next day and for recall reasons, so
No, Steve Cushion isn't being recalled.
those memos are going right out. You're not aware of that?
I don't really play on Facebook.
You mean if
Sorry.
he wrote a response, it would end up on Facebook?
A letter was written, a memo was written, and posted on Facebook the next day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
From who to who, what's that story?
It was from Greg to Steve,
And it was on Facebook.
the next day. We just talked to Steve about it, he said, you know, how am I gonna respond if it's gonna be on Facebook the next day? So,
I guess I would say they're public communications anyway,
Yeah.
aren't they? So.
You can't, they're public documents, you can't. I'm not on Facebook.
They are, but let's be professional about everything. I mean, if we're gonna send it to Steve,
right,
we should copy all the board members here
And the lawyer.
and the board members there,
yeah,
so they can have a discussion about it also.
right.
So copy,
You want me to read the motion one more time
The-
before
yeah.
you all send to a roll call vote?
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're
adding things to
Wait a
get
minute, let
changed.
me understand what you're saying. You want this letter to go out,
Yes,
you want it to go to Steve, and
Yes.
you want it to be from
Greg
Greg and the
lawyer.
attorney.
That's correct. Copy the board and
Copy
copy township
both
board.
boards.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted
You
to
get
make
lost?
sure that's what
Well,
we were talking
I
about.
think when you
mean,
copy the township board, there's some accountability there.
Right.
Steve's accountable to them, as opposed to if he's
Just
just
going to him.
going to him,
We can-
and he doesn't respond, it's like,
we can do it.
All right,
It's
that
kind
sounds
of
fine to
covering
me.
our-
Now, is everybody, all right, we have a motion.
I mean,
I'll read what I typed, just so it's what you're thinking, but, motion by Beckman, second by Rohrig, to amend the letter to be sent under fire board direction, removing the fire board signature line, and to be signed by Chief Janik and the fire district attorney, while copying the fire board and the township board.
Yep.
Okay. So then, roll call vote?
Okay, can we have a roll call vote on that?
Sure. Beckman?
yes.
Rohrig?
Yep.
Miller?
Yes.
Meridian?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
DePlank?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it gets to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the other thing, if you don't get a reply, we will let Chris and I know, because we are representatives, and we'll ask why,
Okay.
and follow through with it.
Will do.
But, I mean, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, but at some point, I think, I don't know how we do it, but getting involved with Boscraft or Padnos, do they understand the scope of what's going on out there?
How well do you know Jeff Padnos?
I know his brother better, I know Dougie, but, I mean, I can reach out to him as a board member.
No, I don't know.
I would say that the chief would reaching out to him, I don't know, is it a slippery slope? I
Right,
mean,
think it
well,
is.
what do you think,
I think
Chris, is that the pissing match if we
And
contact
that's,
Jeff Paddock?
and going around the township, I
You
don't
thought
want to do
Steve would be
that.
offended by the letter, he might be more offended by that, but we could get him to agree to it.
What are your feelings on this?
I hadn't thought about the owner, landowner. I gotta believe anybody with that much money has gotta know, somewhere he's gotta know these things. Unless he's got really poor design people and architects. Who's his architect?
Yeah, he doesn't have a...
He's got nobody, who's the consultant?
Someone came up with that plan.
Well,
Yeah.
Oscar.
Probably Boscraft.
He's a land use consultant?
I'm sure Fleece and Vanderbrink might have been
That's who I would go
involved.
with, yeah.
Well, Holland Engineering was doing the
Okay.
site plans.
Howland Engineering, so he hired Howland, would Howland Engineering know about this? Have they ever reached out to you for anything like this?
No. No, the only way I got these is from the MDEQ.
Right, and you got blindsided by that, but if they're putting that out, they know there needs to be water supply.
But that's really old, Eric.
It is, and
That's why I asked in writing for another one.
another one.
They told you they weren't gonna give you one.
They said I'm not reviewing it. All I'm reviewing is the landing site for the helicopter and the,
Stand
And
pipes.
and
stand pipes
emergency boat.
and the emergency boat access.
Which isn't anywhere.
Yeah. That's thus the clarification that the mass confusion, because the planning commission did review that PUD.
And they approved it.
Yeah,
The planning commission approved that PUD.
Right.
Right,
but that's only part of it.
right.
Yeah, that's, I think, the 23 homes around
Around
the
the
basin.
basin.
Again, PUD
Yeah.
it means nothing.
Right.
And it should mean nothing to this board. It means nothing. It's completely irrelevant.
Yeah, just because it's a meets and bounds doesn't mean your
Yeah.
house isn't gonna burn down. And if there's a westerly wind, it's gonna burn down even faster.
And if you paid $2.9 million for the land,
Yeah, it's not gonna be a cottage,
it's
I'll tell you that.
not gonna be a shack.
That's right, someone's thinking about fire suppression, somewhere in that
They better
equation.
be.
What I'm hoping you will see is we're hoping they'll come up with some plans, I guess they're sprinkled, or we do have an on-site fire pump. That's what I'm really hopeful for, that there'll be something. I even
But you
gave,
don't know that.
no, I even gave Scott Bosgroff, because he seems to be the only person, only time Brian Bosgroff talked to me was when he came here about the Fire Board of Appeals. That's the only time. Scott came to me and I gave him some ideas on putting where the dry hydrants are, then putting 8-inch PVC in the ground across. I'll just show you, a lot easier. I gave him some ideas for putting pipe, straight through here, so we draw the water out, pump, and then move it this way. Because once we put an engineer and we lay in, how are the trucks gonna drive across the hose?
Yeah, you're not.
Can't be done.
Yep.
So that's why we suggested, matter of fact, I even drew it on here. And there was, you can't put pipe through wetlands. I got approval from Cameron Jordan, MDEQ, they can bore through the wetlands. And then I also suggested a pipe under the ground, under the basin, to connect, and then a pipe going this way, so we have one engine, or hopefully their fire pump, to distribute the water. And that was what I thought, and that's in the report.
And how many
That's
engines
all the
does
other
it take to distribute water the way it is?
Well, we can certainly pump about 750 feet. But see, the way the route is, we have to go like this, so it's longer than going straight
It's not a
across.
crow's fly, it's all the way around.
So that's why I suggested piping across here, and then piping under the basin to try to distribute the water. In other words, let's make do with what we have. And we have a water supply, and I suggested to Scotty put the pump house right here. But we haven't gotten a reply on that.
To get all the way out to the end right now, it'd take 3 trucks to move it.
It's gonna take all 3 of our engines to move it. Correct.
Well, you wouldn't think so. You got that money, you should sprinkle.
But it doesn't say you have to.
And that was what we're kind of hopeful for, and even Scott had said, we should just sprinkle this, because that relaxes everything, you know? It doesn't address a blocked road for medical, but we can't solve everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we thought, wow, you know, when they talked about the sprinkling, but, so.
Okay.
I'd like to see a letter go to the insurance companies.
But you didn't answer the question about Jeff.
What's that?
You didn't answer the question about Jeff Panos. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel? I feel that anybody who's gonna spend the kind of money you're spending on a home in this area, knowing how far it is from the fire department, and how long it's gonna take response, you're gonna take whatever actions necessary from a design and construction standpoint to make sure you can accommodate a fire.
But are they gonna know that?
I would hope so, or they're very, very stupid people, and they make too much money to be that stupid.
Well, no, they
Well,
don't.
look at, I'm just learning fire code, why would Pat know all that unless that
Well,
other guy...
Well, you do have to rely on.
I guarantee the people he
He
hires
trusts the
should know
people, and
it.
if they
Yeah.
hide it from him, he
Yeah.
might not know.
Well, I don't know if they can hide it from them.
Well,
Well,
but
actually amazing.
It's naive to think people
if
don't.
you buy that
It's in their
house
best
up there on
interest.
the point, is there any written guarantee that it has fire service? No, it doesn't.
Is the Dennison house sprinkled?
No.
We never reviewed that.
There was no water out there.
They didn't care, burn, just get out
They
of
don't
there.
need, they don't
We'll
need a
build
water
another one,
supply.
right?
Yeah.
They don't need a water supply. Let's make sure everybody understands this. You do not need a hydrant system to do sprinklers.
Right,
You do it off a well, because
Yeah.
all this is well and septic,
Yeah.
so the board understands that.
yeah.
And I've got it written down, ISO, they should be putting 13Ds in there, because there is one way in, one way out. The helicopter is gonna do me no good if that road is blocked,
Yeah.
and that's why I knew that was a lawyer response. The helicopter crew can't get down, they're not gonna walk down to the house if we can't get in.
The
I'm
helicopter is
sure,
way
I'm
out.
sure they want limited
Egress.
egress,
Yeah.
They don't want people just driving
Right.
in.
And then it is a challenging, that's why it all spelled sprinkling.
Yeah.
You know, it is a very challenging area.
But we don't know that, so. But, so yes, that's my answer to the question, we don't know, but I would assume that somebody putting that kind of money into that kind of development is gonna accommodate some way to
So was that,
to deal with.
is that a yes or no? We should contact Jeff or we shouldn't?
I don't know, I'm not gonna do it. If you want to, go ahead,
I
you
mean,
know?
if somebody from this
Well, I-
board or if this board contacted Jeff Panos and said, you know what, your fire safety is not real, is a bit sketchy,
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I wouldn't do
is that putting the township in
I
a
think we need to
disadvantage?
get-
I don't
I
know.
think we need clarification
Somebody-
before we decide it's sketchy.
How about this? How about all the things we say, and I don't really, it doesn't matter.
We don't know, so I don't-
Yeah, but what about this cooperation? Why not give me a site plan?
Yeah,
So I can determine what the water is. It seems to me, if we start approving
Maybe the owner doesn't
driving
want the site plan widely distributed because someone's gonna try to stop the development. I don't know.
By a million paper cuts, right?
Right. I have no idea, but for right now,
If the township's got it, they gotta give it out if somebody asks for it.
it's true.
I don't know. You
At all.
know, or they don't have it yet, I don't
It's a
know.
public document.
So, okay,
I say we get clarification
Clarification.
before we do anything.
I agree.
Once we get clarification, if we need to do something else, then we go down
Try to
that
say,
path.
All right, new business, Township IFC amendments impact on district operations. I don't know.
We got that. That's right, we're on B.
We're on B.
So we've covered A? Yep. We covered A? This one?
Oh.
That's right.
Okay, oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
what we've been
That's all
talking
right.
about.
What did I do again?
What do we do? What would we?
That's all right.
Chris, can you read that back?
Well, it's kind of confusing.
Yes, I'm a little, sorry.
That's
So
a tough, that's a tough one.
business, 8B,
8B, new business,
appreciation dinner.
much better.
We scheduled that during spring break, so we're limited on what we can do with the caterer and the facility, so April 21st is the date that we picked. So please mark that down.
Already did.
Good. And number 9?
Is it gonna be the same place?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead
And,
with correspondence.
Farmhouse Deli's gonna cater it. Correspondence, got another thank you. Mary Whiteford is just a cut above many legislators, and we've got a thank you letter from Mary to the staff for doing the Cub Scout presentation, so just wanted to share that with you. Another thank you letter from Sartic Public Schools. I did a reverse job shadow class last year, did it again this year. Then we got another donation for the Live Fire Training Center in memory of Faye Whiteman for $250. That's it on correspondence.
All right.
Number 10.
Any? Okay, public comment, any public comment?
I guess one thing is with the whole development out there, and hopefully that if ISO comes in, because they don't have all the stuff that they should have, but they don't because of everything going on, and the whole township's fire insurance goes up, I hope the board members will at least come together and fight that vigorously, because it's not fair for all the other taxpayers, property owners in this township to have to pay more because of that and because of what they're doing down there for fire safety and the safety of all the firefighters that you guys represent. So I hope that at some point you're gonna stand together and take care of that, because that is not fair. It's not fair to the taxpayers, and it's not fair to all of us that sit here and have to go out and deal with this stuff after it's too late. You know, nobody puts sprinklers in because nobody knows about it, you know, whatever the excuses are. Once it's built, it's too late. They're not gonna go back and put it in later. So then we have to deal with it.
Thanks, Lina. Anybody else?
I did, to someone's comment about, you know, why they don't do these fire safety things up front, it's actually amazing how many architects and developers don't know what a 13D sprinkler system even is. That even out in the North Shore development, or not North Shore, sorry, Dune Grant, you're almost having to coach these people and walk them through that. Right now, there's only 3 of the fire protection companies in West Michigan here that are even doing the residential systems. That I don't think it's really, unfortunately, the fire service as a whole hasn't done a good job of educating the builders of the importance of them. They continue to, you know, go with more and more lightweight construction and OSB studs and more garbage, you know, sawdust and glue basically. But yet they're not taking the additional, you know, they think smoke alarms are enough, and that's not the case. You know, you used to have 20 minutes to get out of a house, now you have 2 to 3 if you're lucky. So it is, unfortunately, many of these architects as well as builders need education too. So just a food for thought.
Architects are just people. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Fire board comments?
I'd like to respond to Linus. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I live in the township, and I don't want my taxes to go up if they do something half-assed out there. So I definitely want to make sure we understand, and they understand what they're doing before they do it. And it's a very good point.
And it'd be so sad that we've worked so long and hard on community risk reduction, and to lower, I mean, you know, we've spent, you know, I've probably been on a couple different ISO ratings, you know, and where we do tanker shuttles, and we do all this stuff, and work to get our ISO rating down to help the taxpayers.
Yep.
And then this could come in and booger it all up for everybody.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I also want you to know that we stand behind the safety of all you guys.
Absolutely.
All the time. I mean, there's not, I don't think, I've been here 10 years, and I don't think there was one time, maybe we should have, but said no to Greg on anything to improve the safety of his guys. So I'm with you there. I would like to see that thing done right. I'd like to see it done in my lifetime, because I think the benefits to the township and this fire department by the tax base would be phenomenal, but it's got to be done right. So, thank you.
Yeah, and my feeling is we can't wait on this.
Right.
We can't wait till after it's built. Once it's built, it's built.
Then they're gonna start building soon, too.
Yeah, and they're gonna start
And I
building.
guess that's why I kinda said, do we get ahold of Padnos or Boscraft?
Yeah, they've already approved 2 driveways.
Right, so we gotta, let's not wait till it's too late, even if I wanna make sure we don't step on anyone's, but I also don't wanna wait, like Mike said, until it's too late.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I've got one thing to say. The word "assume" makes an ass out of you and me, so.
That's right.
And I was told that once, and I didn't appreciate it, but it had a lot of,
Oh, yeah.
carried a lot of thought after it, and I thought about it. So I think that's just a little verbiage one needs to consider.
Right? Can't assume that they know what they're doing.
Nope.
Scott, anything?
No.
Kathy?
No, just to reiterate, I think we're naive to think they do know what they're doing. Just because I've seen it in big government and in business and everywhere, and their top guys are often shielded. That's all I have to say.
Aaron?
Yeah, I saw that you printed out the email I sent after our last meeting, so I could just talk about that briefly.
Right, please.
Yeah, I think that, to me, trying to get past questions around, or I guess concern around the amendments that the township made, and start talking more about that's done, what is the reaction or impact on the fire district and your guys' work. So I feel like the letter that you put together in relation to North Shore does it is a start at that, and getting more clarification around, based on the changes to the amendment, here are places where we're unclear on whose responsibility are these things now. If there are other areas where we're still unclear, I feel like we should start writing those out as well, of where else are there ambiguities that need clarification, that may not be applicable for North Shore, but would be applicable to someplace else. And then from that, it feels like, once we have the clarification, then talking about what's the reaction of the fire district to keep your employees safe, to keep citizens safe as possible, what changes do we need to make, and what clear concerns do we have. Feels like articulating that, not trying to change the amendment, because they've done that, but just articulating what are the concerns, and then what's the impact to the work of the district.
And I loved Aaron's idea, and what we did is we started a spreadsheet of incidents that occurred, and matter of fact, Eric just got back from Rome, so it was limited, but we started a spreadsheet of calls where there's a conflict between what we're to do and the way the code's written. So we can look at those, and that's what we're gonna be focusing on, and your email actually kind of validated that we need to keep that list, and we actually have a spreadsheet. So we're gonna be working on updating that. Some of it is really hard to decipher, the obligation of the fire department to respond, but there's nothing we can do. So we go there, and then what? And that's what we started listing now, the actual incidents.
Yeah, I think that's the next step, is to take this list of incidents or issues.
Yep.
That are real issues, not what might happen, but what has happened.
Right.
And say, okay, here's what's happening, and ask them to change. Because I think that, they'd be wise to listen and do that. I think they would. But at this point, I think, well, I heard it today from the zoning administrator, nothing's happened in 6 months that there's been no issues. They view it as having no issues.
Yeah, that's not true.
And that's why we need to document.
Why you need to have something to say, well, maybe it is.
In this
Yeah,
case,
that's
this
our
happened,
perspective.
and we didn't know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And you know,
that's a good
the other
one.
perception is that they say something to me, and it comes back different than what they talked about. So
Oh,
we got
sure,
both sides.
that's convenient.
You know, so, you know, we were saying next time we need to have someone writing down verbatim,
Yeah.
you know, but, so we're trying to work with them. But I can tell you that, you know, it's, they're digging in their heels. They are digging in their heels, and they think you've spent enough effort and time, they got other things to do, just like you guys do.
Hmm.
And, so, that checklist idea is probably the best way to go forward, and documenting when there are issues, you know.
We put the actual incidents in.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. And then a couple months or whatever, go and say, look, this is what's going on. But as part of the fire board report to the township, we could put in there, here's some things that have been going on.
Yep.
So that's a matter of public record.
We can do that. So Aaron, your concept dovetails with the spreadsheet we generated, so.
And I think the letter that is going out for clarification.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? And words? Thank you.